LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
What's up, y'all? Want to welcome you back to the HuntStand Podcast, Season 2, and this is your host, Will Cooper. The HuntStand Podcast is your weekly source for insightful conversations with veteran hunters, dedicated outdoor enthusiasts, and top industry personnel. I'm going to have guests on here who are true experts in their field, diving into the captivating world of our industry and the great outdoors. With each episode, you, the listener, will receive invaluable knowledge, tips, and guidance on how to enhance your skills in the wild and in life. Tune in to be entertained, informed, and driven to reach new heights. The HuntStand Podcast is brought to you by Yamaha and its full line of class-defining, adventure-seeking motorcycles, ATVs, and side-by-side vehicles. The HuntStand Podcast is also brought to you by Springfield Armory and their lineup of Model 2020 Waypoint rifles. And finally, the HuntStand Podcast is brought to you by StealthCam. It's never been easier to go wireless with the Command Pro app. Capture high-quality photos and videos of all the action wherever you hunt with StealthCam's advanced cameras and data plans tailored to your needs. So make sure to check out their website today, stealthcam.com. HuntStand Podcast, Season 2. Buckle up. It's going to be a good ride. Let's go.
Well, brother, are you ready to get this thing rolling?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, man. Well, first and foremost, Jeremiah, I just want to welcome you to the HuntStand Podcast, and thank you for taking the time to talk deer and deer hunting with me this morning.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime I can talk about deer, I'm in. So
yeah, I can't complain. It's not a bad job to have. So, man, what I like to do, we're going to talk here in a little bit. I'm getting you on this podcast because I've been getting asked by quite a few people about how to process deer, if there's a better way to do it, and just kind of maybe go down a rabbit hole with it. But before we get to that, I like for each of my guests to give the listeners kind of that, what I call the 30-foot tree stand view of, who you are, your brand, how you've gotten to where you are in life, and anything else you want us to know about you, man. So give us a skinny on you, brother.
Yeah, well, tree stands are really hard in Southern California where I'm from because
Texas too.
You're not, yeah, well, Texas, it's like, where are you going to put it? In that cactus.
Yeah.
But, we're not allowed to leave stuff on public land, so you put one up and you got to take it down the day you're there. But yeah, born and raised in Southern California, that typical Southern California lifestyle, a lot on the water. Grew up bird hunting primarily. That's what we do in Southern California is we are fly as it dies kind of culture down here for the hunting culture. Otherwise, don't we talk about hunting because we're in Southern California.
Yeah.
But we've got some of the best and diverse waterfowling. We're in the Pacific Flyway at the very end. Half our ducks don't even make it down to Mexico because our weather is perfect, so they sit here. So the end of the season this year was insane. We've got 3 different types of quail. We got 3 different types of dove, chucker, pheasant, you name it. So
wow,
that was my life. Born and raised was on the water fishing in the ocean or chasing birds with a shotgun. And kind of how my hunting life progressed is in 2007, 2008, I developed an allergic reaction to bovine fats. So for those of you who don't know what bovine is, that's cows and domesticated bison.
Jeez.
And yeah, so my body cannot digest domestic cattle or bison. That's kind of, I can go into it. It'll take us 17 different podcasts to talk about how, why, where, when, and what. But pretty much I'm allergic to beef. Beef can't, if I eat too much of it, it can literally kill me. And so that just, like I said, that started. I was an Irish kid born and raised on meat and potatoes. And so that started and kind of thrust me more into the big game world because I wanted to subsidize red meat. Realized that the wild aspect of red meat didn't have the enzymes that my body's allergic to, that you domesticated cattle. And so taught myself literally, got got myself my first antelope tag. I'm gonna go for it. Go for it. Let's go chase the antelope in Wyoming. And got my tag. Didn't know what I was doing. Went and got a cheap 30-06. At the time, it was a Thompson Center. Cheapest one, I think it was $129 back in 2007. Now they're top of the line. It's a Smith
Yeah.
sister company. But I literally walked in. California, we got a 10-day waiting period. I waited 10 days. Went to Walmart, bought a cheap Bushnell scope because, again, you ask me about shotguns, I'll tell you ins and outs of shotguns. I've got Benellis. But when it comes to rifles, I was like, a rifle's a rifle, right?
Yeah.
And went out to Wyoming. Spent 7 days with a buddy who didn't know what we were doing either. Chased these antelope, and finally filled our tags, and took it to a processor because we didn't know what we were doing. Like literally, I sat in the middle of the field with a Swiss Army knife from when I was 13. The one that has the toothpick and the tweezers and the is the size of your arm.
Yeah.
Sat there. I don't think it's ever been sharpened. Got it when I was 13 for Christmas, and tried to gut and skin this animal. And I was like, "What? This is stupid. Why do people like this crap?" Then I got the meat home, and I hated it. I had no idea how to cook it, no idea flavor profile. And back in 2008, really the only people that were doing the wild game cooking was, Hank Shaw, Steve Ranella, Meat Eater had just started out doing their stuff. There wasn't many people when you wanted to look for wild game. You typed it in on the internet, and it was like, oh, wrap it in bacon, stuff it in jalapeno,
slow cook it,
overcook it, make it into chili. I was like, this is crap. Well, I've been working in the restaurant industry since I was 17. Worked all the way up, became a restaurant, GM, AGM, then got into corporate development training, writing training programs. Look at my body, you can totally tell I was one of those corporate execs in high-end restaurants, and hated my life, hated working 17, 18-hour shifts. But I had this grew up with if you shoot it, you eat it mentality that my dad put it.
Yeah.
I remember we shot a crow with a pellet gun in our backyard. My dad made us eat it.
How'd that taste?
We live in this. That's why they say, go eat crow. Tasted like what they smell like. And so if you ever smelt a crow, that's what it tastes like.
Oof.
And we're in Orange County. I mean, we're in the city. It's not like it's a crow out there eating crops. This crow's out there eating garbage and, neighbors' dog food. And so I had this you got to make it taste good. So I worked on it and used kind of my culinary background in the restaurant. Okay, how do you pair something? We have sommeliers in the restaurant who are pairing wines to different flavors. So I started talking to sommeliers, like, when you're looking at a flavor profile, how do you gauge this? Because I have this antelope which tastes like sucking on a sage leaf. How do I marry that and not try to mask the flavor, but enhance it to a beautiful, elegant flavor?
Yeah.
And so I got it's like the Cook's Bible, but it's like all about seasonings and pairings, and it's like this thick, and it literally gives you cumin and everything that would pair well with cumin, and how it it's brilliant. It's genius.
That's interesting.
So I started looking at sage and realizing that ginger, soy, garlic, kind of those Asian-inspired flavors paired really, really well with sage. And so I just started experimenting with creating my own teriyaki sauces, my own type Mongolian sauces. This antelope, all of a sudden, something that my family hated, me, my wife, and my 3-year-old at the time, hated it. And now we're sitting there and we want to keep eating more of it and more of it and more of it. But I'd only shot one, right? And so within like a month, I had no meat left. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to wait till October 1st to go shoot another antelope. And so that went on for 3 years of me just going to Wyoming. At the time, I could get 4 tags for does, and the doe tags were $38 a tag.
Dang.
And that includes your license. So I'd go spend $400 on a whole trip to Wyoming, shoot 4 antelope in 4 days, and became really, really good at it. On public land, and it's just like
Sweet.
Once you understand the process, once you understand how to hunt it, it was like, all right, this is easy. And then, so it kind of just progressed from there. And next thing you know, companies are calling me, asking me to, because I was just posting on like my Instagram, like bullfrog. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. And companies are reaching out saying, hey, can we share your recipe? Hey, can we put your recipe in our magazine. Hey, and I'm like, just like teriyaki antelope skewers. There's nothing. I mean, and if you go back and look at those pictures I took back then, I don't know why anyone in the world started. I mean, I don't know how I have 70,000 followers almost. If you go back and look at that first food picture that I posted,
Dude, you got to start somewhere, man.
It's funny because you always hear those stories and you never think you're going to be one of those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell, where it just kind of took off and exploded. So much so that I was doing more hunting all over the whole country than I was using all my vacation time. And I was like, man, I should really quit my job. But when you're in a corporate restaurant making six figures, it's really hard to walk away and just and it was one of those mentalities where it's just, I want to, no, I want to, yeah, and I don't know about you, but I go to church, God-fearing man.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
And we were sitting in church, and our pastor at the time, who's since retired, was preaching that Sunday. This is the Sunday that I was like contemplating what I should do with my life at the age of 30 or 35. I'm like, man, I'm looking at all these people in the restaurant. They're all having heart attacks. They're all getting divorces. They're all because they're never home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go down that road. And so we're sitting in church. The pastor was like, talking about cannonballing. You have to cannonball in life. He goes, everyone always says, dive into something. He goes, but when you dive into a pool, the only person that you impact or affect is yourself, because your goal is to not make a splash. Your goal is to go in perfectly and no one can even hear it. He goes, I think what in life we need to be not afraid to cannonball. He goes, because when you cannonball into the pool, you impact everyone in the pool and a lot of people outside the pool if your splash is good enough. He goes, and everyone turns around and everyone looks at the person that jumps into the pool. And I was sitting there going, wow, that was brilliant. Like, I've never heard something put in the term of cannonballing into life.
No.
I mean, I see your face right now. You're looking at it going, wow, that's deep.
It is, man. Like, it basically in a nutshell, it's you just got to take a risk, right?
Yeah, you just got to go for it, right? And who cares? And he was like, when you cannonball into a pool, your impact of your waves goes all the way to the end of the pool and comes all the way back and comes back to you. So you'll feel the effects of your cannonball way after everyone else feels the effects of your cannonball. Mm-hmm. He goes, but to cannonball, you got to grab, you got to go. If you don't, you're going to belly flop, you're going to back flop, you're going to side flop. You got to commit, you got to go for it. And our church is 3,000 plus members, big church. And afterward, the pastor comes up and goes, Jeremiah, that sermon was all for you. I have no idea, but I was praying last night. That sermon was for you. I was like, thanks, Bruce. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? He's like, I have no idea. Just I was praying last night, and I got to come tell you. So I was talking to my wife, and I was like, man, is this telling me to quit my job? Am I supposed to just go for it? And she's like, well, whatever you want, I'll support you. Well, that Thursday night we had youth group, and I was a volunteer at youth group, and we were playing a game, and I tore my calf muscle, class 4 tear in my calf muscle.
Holy cow!
It went all the way up into my knee, surgeries, the whole 9 yards. So I was out of work for 6 months. And during those 6 months, I really just focused on myself and building a brand. I was like, okay, I got to think of a name. From field to plate. I want to take it from field to plate. A concept. Hey, I want to teach people so they don't have to struggle like I did in the very beginning with a pocket knife. I want to get better. I want to learn how to butcher. I want to learn I don't want to take it to a processor. I want to, from A to Z, it needs to be me.
Yeah.
And I just focused on that. And for 6 months, it was amazing. And then I had, it came the day to go back to work. And my wife goes, listen, you have never been this happy. You have never been this passionate. You're not grumpy. You're not mean. You're not angry. You're not coming home at 3:00 in the morning, which for your wife to tell you something is huge, right?
Big time.
And I go, well, I think I need to quit my job. I said, but we can't, there's no money. There's no money coming in. She goes, well, we have enough saved up for 2 years. So give yourself 2 years, do as much and as you can in those 2 years, and we'll make it work. I mean, how many wives tell their dudes to walk away from a crap ton of money to go be happy?
Not a lot, man. Not a lot. That's a special woman right there.
And her parents and my parents were super supportive. They're like, hey, it's better to be poor when your kids are young and they don't know any better, and you're eating macaroni and cheese every single night and 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 dollar chicken nuggets than to do it when they're in high school and they're going to resent you because all their friends have, are going out and you're sitting there eating macaroni and cheese still. And so I walked into work and I said, hey, I quit. They were like, how much money do you want? Like, you've been gone for 6 months and we're falling. The restaurant's falling. I was like, done. They're like, well, no, like, what can we give you to keep you here? And I was like, absolutely nothing. There's no amount of money that you can give me. There's no store you can give me. There's no whatever. I'm done. And turned around and walked out of the restaurant, and that was July 16th. 6 years ago, July 16th. And haven't looked back. And I'm now making as much, I'm making not as much money as I made in the restaurant, but right there at it. And I'm a stay-at-home dad who hunts and fishes and cooks for a living and teach classes on new people how to go out and hunt. And, from thinking 6 years ago when I quit my job to I've now taken 400 brand new hunters, adult hunters out on their first hunts. I have 3 more deer, and I'll processed 400 deer myself that I've shot in 6 years. Like, who can say that, and who can do it, and who can be passionate about it? And so that's kind of me in a nutshell how it started, and it just kind of exploded and just cannonballing into life and giving it. And, now it's one of the coolest things. And even if social media went away and, life went away and whatever, then I'm still going to be doing this, and I'm still going to have fun at it. And I can't imagine ever going back to like a day job.
Dude, hearing your story I think it's inspiring for a lot of people out there that might be going through a similar struggle of what you did when you were working that job. But what I'm getting at is hearing you say these things is kind of something that I have followed myself as a mantra pretty much since I've got into the working force. Is I would rather have a job doing something I love making less money than having a super high paying job, hating it and hating life.
Oh, amen.
I mean, I think a lot of people fall into that trap that they look at the money and they can't get away from the money, man. And I think luckily though you were able to, and look at you now, man. Well,
that's the deal. I grew up poor, and I think the deal is a lot of people are so scared to not have what the Joneses have,
yes.
to not have what the neighbors have. So much so, like, people, a new phone comes out, they get the new phone. Their phone is still perfectly fine, but they have, if it doesn't have those 3 little camera holes on the back, then they know that you're poor. And it's, and the way that media is and the way that life is, it's everything is front and center.
Yep.
I don't know how old you are.
31.
So you're 9 years younger than I am, 8 years younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, but there's this mindset when I grew up, we didn't have, like I was telling my daughters, we didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Internet had just came out and it was dial up, and you couldn't get on because your mom was waiting for a call from your aunt, and you couldn't keep the phone line on. Like, we had to sit in the family room and talk to people because that's the only phone in the house was in the family room, right?
That's what we had to do.
And, we had to watch whatever mom and dad watched because there was one TV in the house and it was a clicker. And there was like 17 channels.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like, and now it's the kids have everything at their freaking fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
No one looks at what an old timer is saying anymore. And so, in our household, we still sit around and have dinner at the dinner table. And her friends think it's so weird that we sit down and have dinner at the dinner table.
What?
Think about, everyone sits down and watches TV, and they'll eat around no one sits down at a dinner table anymore. Or they fill their lives with so much stuff, right? There's noise in this world that no one takes the time to stop. And even like we were talking about deer processing, this is the whole episode, is I laugh at hunters who say they don't have the time to process their own deer. They have the time to watch 17 hours of YouTube videos of guys hunting and fishing, and they go sit in their in their tree stand reading a book, waiting for that buck to walk by. And they can go out and all summer long they're going to tend to those those alfalfa fields and those bean sprouts because those deer are going to come in there. Or if you text us, hey, I got to go fill my feeders and check my trail cameras. I got to go make sure that there's a shooting lane. I got to go set up bow blinds. They have so much stuff, but when it comes to the process of finishing it out, everyone's like, it's easier just to take it to a processor. I guarantee you, if someone could Well, I know. I taught a class with a bunch of rich guys, and they got so drunk at night that in the morning I went to wake them up. I'm like, hey, come on, we got deer, we got stands, we got to go get them. One of the guys said, I'll pay you $10,000 if you go shoot me a big buck, so I can take a picture with it. I took his $10,000 and went and shot him a monster buck.
Heck yeah.
Back, and he literally put on his camouflage, took a picture with it, and I was like, this is the world we live in.
That's sad.
You know, people are more. He wanted the big buck for the wall when people walked into his office. You know, he shot this 200. Oh, I shot this 210-inch deer that he could put up on the wall. And you know, he tells the stories and he posts all. Look at this deer I shot this morning, and I was like, whatever, right? But that's the world we live in. If people could do it for us and we could still get the glory for it, we're gonna, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty insane, and you know, I'll have to admit, about the only thing I take to a processor is to have dried sausage made, because I haven't had the means to make it myself yet. I do all my grinds, and I cut up all my meat and get all the silver skin, everything off it, but I do take it to have some really good dried sausage made here in Texas. A good friend of ours does it.
Like salami style sausage?
No, like the rings of sausage. Like it's like a ring of sausage that what we call fresh sausage here in Central Texas, and then the guy that makes it for us, he's got a room probably about as big as my office here that it's just a giant smoke room that you can go in there and it's just all these rings, and he does this out of his backyard, and he'll just smoke it, and then you've got that, and it's not like salami.
Is it like the kind you get when you go to like all the like Salt Lick and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's like that, but it's dried. It's dried and aged. Like he'll hang it and smoke it in there for like a week, and it dries out, and then you just slice it up, or I'll just, I'll take the lining off of it, and I'll just sit there and eat half a stick or a quarter of a stick for lunch.
Nice.
It's amazing.
See, but like those specialties, like the specialty type stuff that you don't have the means to do, find those small local guys who are doing it.
Yeah.
And go do it. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's not, like, one of my buddies, there's a little local butcher in Texas that make like a cherry chipotle summer sausage type thing that he loves. Right?
Yeah.
It's a family recipe. They won't tell you the secret. They won't tell you it. So they'll walk in and take 40 pounds of ground meat, and the guy will make him the sausages. And I'm like, that sort of thing, 100% go for it. But when it comes to wasting $150 for someone to cut a steak for you or grind the meat, that's where I look at it. But if there's a specialty that you physically can't do or don't do or don't have the time to do, like no one has a dry room to sit there and hang a salami for 6 weeks in the proper temperature to make salami, but guys like salami. And I'm not talking about like summer, like this is a dried hard salami that you can keep out on your counter for months and years. Go for it. Find a local guy who's doing it and doing it well. Pay that guy for his services, but don't pay the dude at the butcher who has 5,000 deer already hanging, and he's just throwing your meat into a nasty grinder with everybody else.
And you don't know if you're getting your deer back.
Guarantee you're not getting your deer back.
Yeah.
We did a thing. We shot an antelope in Wyoming, and we were talking to my buddy about this, and we're like, hey, this guy isn't giving us back proper meat. Or he was telling us, and I was like, well, let's do a thing. So we literally took an antelope, we took a sawzall, cut it from tip to tail in half, and we walked into the processor, said, okay, here's half an antelope. This is what I want from it. I'm going to take the other half and I'm going to process it. First of all, we're going to compare and contrast how much we get, what cuts we get. It's the same exact animal, right? Same in the half.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 100 pounds on this side and 100 pounds on this side if we do it properly. Richard's like, okay, yeah. Well, what he didn't know is I took a knife and I put X's in every single one of the main cuts. So in the bottom round, top round, back straps, I did just a little X right where the joints are, so I know where they are, right? It's like, so he gives us back our meat. I open up the box. I told him not to freeze it. Don't freeze it. I want it back unfrozen. And so we get back the sirloin. I open it up and I look at him like, this isn't mine. Go get mine. He's like, yeah, it is. It's yours. I guarantee you. I was like, no, it's not, because I put an X about this big on the top of mine. Go find my meat. I open up the back strap. I'm like, well, this isn't mine because where's the X and this? And he's like, well, we weighed your deer and this is the amount of deer you get back.
Oh.
And I said, well, I'm not going to pay you and you can keep that half of the antelope. That's yours. Because I don't know whose that is. I don't know how long it sat in the back of the truck. I don't know. An antelope breaks down. Like the moment you shoot an antelope, its hair starts falling out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you literally grab the antelope and you start pulling out hair and make it the perfect leather if you wanted to. The moment it starts dying, it starts to decay. That's just how it is. And so if you don't get that animal gutted and cold fast, the meat itself starts to decay.
Jeez.
So people that say, "Oh, I hate antelope," it's because you don't process it well. You don't understand. We'll drive into freaking Buffalo in Wyoming, and it's 75 degrees outside, and there's antelope just sitting in the back of trucks while guys are in eating lunch.
God. What are you doing?
You can eat that antelope. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll take to a processor over in Laramie," which is another hour away. And I'm like, "Well, it's gonna go bad." No, it'll be fine. Antelope meat sucks anyway. Well, you want to know why it sucks?
What?
Sitting in the back of your pickup truck in 75-degree weather without even a freaking ice bag in its chest.
Yeah, that's frustrating. That is frustrating. Jeez. Well, man, let's talk about deer. Breaking down deer, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's kind of one of those questions that I've been getting asked. People have actually requested that I do a podcast on this, and so, let's just get into it. I really want to dive into the specifics. I mean, obviously we don't have a deer right in front of us, so we can't walk people through this. But what would you say just to start out, processing deer? Let's talk about tools and, maybe some safety precautions or like things that you're thinking in your mind so that you don't have that deer or that pronghorn that's in back of the truck 75 degrees and the meat's going to taste like crap. Like what's your process look like? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, I think for me, first thing start, you gotta have a good knife.
Mm-hmm.
And don't come at me, people. Your grandpa's buck knife that you got when you were 13 isn't a good knife.
No.
It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's great to have, but it's not a good knife.
Mm-hmm.
The Havalon blades, all the changeable blades, those are good knives. They're not great knives.
Mm-hmm.
They dull quickly. The blade itself is very, very short. You want a longer blade for a better cut.
Yeah.
There's a knife. Victorinox is coming out with it, but it's been around since the freaking 1300s. It kind of faded out in existence and it's starting to come back. I'm one of the big advocates on bringing it back. It's called the tripe knife or a bullet tip knife. It was used by the French when they were like sheep farmers.
Really?
It's a reverse curve blade that has looks like a 9mm bullet on top. It's a dull top and it's a reverse curve. So you think about most times the blade itself is curved like a smiley face.
Yeah.
And your sharp parts on the bottom of the smiley face, right? Mm-hmm. This is curved like a smiley face, but the sharp parts on the top of the blade, the top of the smile. Really? And what you can actually do is you can actually go in and gut your animals with this without any fear of puncturing anything that's in there because there's no sharp tip.
Yeah.
And the way the curvature works, you can literally take it right where the groin is. You don't even have to make an incision. You can pop it in, and what you do is you kind of just grab it and pull it towards you. It'll cut all the ribs of a deer, an antelope. I've got tons of videos on it, and it's a phenomenal knife that is my go-to. That's the only knife. So much so that I have elk hunter buddies who have now stolen all of mine, and they'll do it when they process elk as guides. And people are like blown away when they pull out this knife. They're like, "Oh no, and they just sit there and they'll go through. It goes through everything you can think of, and it takes the edge real nice. And then getting yourself a good set of butcher knives, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Victorinox, again, not one of my sponsors, but I believe in products that are good.
Yeah.
You don't have to go spend $400 from a company to get a custom blade. You can go buy. They've got boning knives for like $30 that stay sharp and can literally take an edge with one ceramic swipe on your ceramic stick.
Sweet.
I primarily like to use an 8 to 9 inch scimitar style knife, which is a curved blade. And I teach it in all my classes. People at first, they grab this knife, like, this is way too big. Then afterward, they're like, I can never go back to a 4 or 5 inch blade, ever. If you go look at any meat butcher or processor, we're all using long blades because long blades mean clean cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Less work. You're sitting there with a Havilon poking at this thing, cutting, making a million little slices, where I can take it and just go whoosh, straight down. I posted a video on my Instagram of me deboning a neck with like an 8-inch scimitar knife. People are like, that looked too easy. I'm like, because it is. Like, it doesn't. You don't have to struggle. And a sharp knife is not going to make it so it's hard. I think the reason people get deterred is because they're trying to do it with a dull knife.
Yeah.
And I'll sit at deer camps at other people's ranches and watch these guys come in, and they pull out this buck knife that they just cut off, an apple with. They start hacking at the skin of this animal, and I'm like, they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, get what? Well, you just knocked out 5 deer, and I'm still on my 1. I'm like, well, because your blade sucks. And so I think the very number one thing is getting that sharp blade and loving it.
Mm-hmm.
A dull blade is more dangerous than a sharp knife.
Absolutely.
That goes back to my days in the restaurant. If I see a cook sit there struggling to cut something, it's more dangerous with you trying to cut than allowing the knife to do its job by cutting. So that's the number one thing, is getting a good set of knives, and getting a little roll. I mean, you can get a little roll and keep it in your truck, keep it in your backpack. That doesn't weigh that much with 2 or 3 knives in it, and open that up and keep them clean, keep them sharp, versus that little Havilon with 13 blades you're going through. Yeah. Again, no offense to Havilon, I love them, I got them, but the more and more I learn, the more I grow, and I start talking and start looking at actual butchers. I'm like, why are we as hunters not treating ourselves as actual butchers? Why are we still doing it the way that Grandpa did it?
That's so true.
We are not afraid to use the newest bow and arrow. We're not afraid to wear the newest camo. We're not afraid to go get the biggest and baddest rifle and scope.
Yep.
We're not afraid to use killer new rangefinders and 7mm PRC rounds that now can shoot 2,000 yards. We're not afraid of that. But when it comes to our knives, people, I can't.
I'm not gonna spend $300 on a knife,
right? Or this is my grandpa's. This is how my grandpa did it. Well, yeah, and your grandpa also, shot 1 deer a year, and that's what they lived off of, which is fine. Go for it. But your grandpa would also tell you that if he had the opportunity to use a bigger, better knife, guarantee you he would have.
I kind of want to pause for a second before we get into the actual talk of how you break down a deer. Just we're talking about some of the mistakes that we as hunters have made. Like with Grandpa's buck knife, not having sharp knives. What are some other mistakes you see that hunters make, either when they're processing or just whenever they're going through it?
One thing that I hear, things I hear a lot, don't get hair on the meat. Okay, mm-hmm. That's an old wives' tale, yeah. and it just is. And people are like, oh my gosh, you did that! You're getting hair on the meat. Wipe it off.
Rinse it off. Wipe it off.
One time a year, that animal is going to go into a rut. Mm-hmm. In that rut, there's a little patch of hair on the back of the legs that they're going to piss on. Okay, when we're cutting that animal anyway, we're leaving that patch of hair because that's right where the Achilles tendon is. We're going above that, or we're going below that anyway, so we're not even impacting that at all. So if you get a little bit of hair on the meat, well, who cares? And all people come to my class, they're sitting there picking off. I go, at the end of the class, when we're done, your meat's going to be clean. Just do it. I think another thing that they get caught up in is everything is silver skin, right? If it's shiny, it's silver skin.
Yes. No,
that's a lie. So I'll see people post pictures of a sirloin roast or a top round or a bottom round, and it's trimmed down to this little itty bitty thing because off all the silver skin. In my classes, I'll teach, if you take your knife and run it across, if you run it across very lightly and it cuts, it ain't silver skin. It'll break away when it's cooking. If you take your knife and you run across the top of it and it doesn't cut, then we need to cut it off because that's silver skin.
Yeah.
There's only 4 places where you're actually going to find the silver skin on a deer anyway. You're going to find it, on the back strap, on the top part, which we all know. When you get inside of your top and bottom round, and where it's going to be sitting in there, because that's where it's rubbing. There's a strip on your bottom round that's sitting there, and there's one that's in the shoulder. The rest of it, it's not silver skin, right? It's just connective tissue. It's sinew. It's stuff that's going to break down as it cooks. You can trim it off if you don't want to, if you don't want to, but you don't have to be afraid of it. I can't chew it. No, trust me. And that's, I think, some of the biggest things is I watch people trim off. And also don't wash your meat until you're ready to eat it. If how many times have you process your own deer?
Yeah.
You get hair on it, you rinse off the hair. What happens to the outside of that meat?
It starts to get a little gray sometimes.
Gray, or it gets slimy.
Yeah.
It gets red. Okay. So what happens is the body itself, how animals work, how deer work, how we work, right? Is that slimy, layer that's on top of it. What it's actually doing is it's trying to rehydrate to heal a wound, right? It thinks it's injured. So when oxygen and liquid hit that, it starts to bubble, starts to get sticky, starts to get tacky, because what it wants to do is it wants to fill where it's supposed to be, where the air is meeting the moisture. Mm-hmm. So if you keep washing off that meat, it's going to continually get sticky, get slimy. And then you cut more off and then you wash it. Guess what happens? Slimy, gets sticky, and so when you let the meat dry out, that slime goes away. You can start to literally just dust the hair off. And so there's so many little tips and tricks that as hunters, we're not taught. And you're not watching this when you're watching Carbon TV or whatever. You're watching this dude go out there and smack a big elk, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to come, watch a whole show of me sitting there going, well, this is why the meat gets slimy. There are people that want to, but it's not exciting. I mean, I work with a lot of companies, and they're like, well, can you show more animals dying? I'm like, no. There's a million people out there showing animals get shot. I want to show you what to do once the animal gets shot. Because to me, there's 49% of hunting is before the trigger pull, and then 49% of the hunt is after the trigger pull. And the trigger pull to me is just that 1% that sits in the middle, the 1 or 2%, that sits in the middle. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of people that show that other 49%. I want to be the guy that shows that other 50% on the other side, because the trigger pull to me is the least important thing of it all. Like if I could get away from pulling the trigger, as much as I love it, just process and have fun and get the results of the animal, I would. But I'm not the guy that has 10 grand to go have someone else shoot my deer, so I have to still pull the trigger. But I still feel that it's more important to understand the process of the animal, and educate yourself, just like you would sit there and read a gun and ammo magazine to know the next round. Sit and look at a deer anatomy book. I know it's boring at first, but once you understand the anatomy of a deer, you're going to become a way better hunter.
Oh yeah, big time. So, are there any other mistakes you see people make, or I guess you could kind of see like those myths? Like, I think another one that I've kind of heard and seen, I mean, guiding like I did, inevitably somebody would gut shoot a deer, and obviously we try to get that out as quick as possible, but I remember there'd be a couple times like if somebody would gut shoot a deer and like they're standing over your back like watching you do this the whole time, and obviously there's guts in there, you can't do anything about it. They freak out because a little bit might just touch the inside of the ham as you're trying to get that out or whatever. What's your take on that? Have you seen that really affect, or is it just kind of like the hair deal, like, oh, just wash it off and get it clean as quick as possible?
Yeah. The guts itself, I'm not worried about the guts. What I'm worried about is the pisser.
Yes.
I'm worried about the piss sack. When you get guts, it hoses off real easy, super easy. We'll have guys shoot deer, and as long as we get the guts out fast enough, and a lot of times too, even if we're back in the sticks, like I'll take a water bottle, take my knife, poke an X in it so we can squirt it off and rub it off.
Yeah.
Even taking grass, wiping grass off that. You got to think about that. That's just the inside of the stomach contents, right? Yeah. There's actually good bacteria in the stomach that's causing the breakdowns, right? Now, what happens is we allow that good bacteria to die off and the bad bacteria grow in. So we're going to wash it off and get rid of it. When you have the urine is very, very strong in ammonia. And that ammonia is going to impact the flavor of meat way more so than gut shot. And it's funny because the people that get gut shot deer, they still want to go in and grab out those tenderloins before they'll look at like the hams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to get the best cut. Got to get the tenderloins, which are covered in stomach contents. They don't think about that at all, right? They'll wash it off real quick. I'm like, okay, but that is literally, if you look at the makeup of a tenderloin, it's very, very porous, right?
Yeah.
It's absorb a lot more than that bottom round that is thick and has that cover of slime over it we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and has, which is like a fascia, right? So it's got this fascia over it, which again, we can literally go right underneath that fascia, cut that fascia off, and it's clean. So yeah, that's a big one too. Is people saying, "Oh, it's got shot, so it's bad," and I think no, not at all. And it's funny too, even with myths that come to like, well, this animal tastes bad, or it tastes, like can't eat a wild hog because it's going to taste bad. I've eaten some of the best wild hog. Wild hog to me is one of the best flavors, especially when it's done correctly, right? Javelina are some of my favorite animals to eat. Again, you have to learn the process of how to clean them. And I think that's the biggest mistake is everyone tries to treat every animal they shoot like a deer.
Yeah.
And it's not, yes, all four-legged critters are set up the same, but they're all going to process a little different depending on what's inside, what's on the outside. Where are the glands? Where are the scents? Where do they breed? So once you figure out that, then I think all your myths kind of go out the window, because it's just, we've been taught it so long in this Western world that's, or even like livers and hearts are gross. Bull crap. I've cooked liver, and I took to SHOT Show this year, I took 4 pounds of heart jerky, literally jerky to heart. And people were going back. The bag was empty after like the first day. People going back. They're like, this is not heart. I hate heart. I'm like, no, you hate how people open it up, pound it, and then like make a taco out of it. And it's rubbery, and that's what you hate.
Yeah.
Because again, the myth is it can be cooked one way, right? So I think that's where a lot of this mistakes come in, is because that's what Grandpa told them. That's what, TV told them.
The old myths. So, man, walk us through. We can get as detailed as we want on this, but let's kind of go through just breaking down a deer real quick for some of the folks out there. And I guess first and foremost, my question for you is, I've seen people, when they hang a deer to begin skinning and quartering, I've seen people do it by hanging the deer either by antlers. If it's a doe, they're hanging, by the neck, or they're upside down through the legs with either some type of gimbal or hook system. So, how are you hanging your deer? Upside down, or I guess you could say forward up, and then just kind of walk us through it quickly.
Yeah, I think there's 2 methods on gutting and skinning, right? One of them is going to be round.
Yeah.
If you're a Western hunter, or you're an Eastern hunter who's far away, and that process is very, very simple. Belly up, gut it, and then when you're skinning, you're doing one side, flipping the animal over onto that hide that you just skinned to skin the other side out.
Yeah.
Then break down those quarters. But for 80% of hunters out there, they're hanging meats, right? If you're in Texas, you're hanging in a shed. If you're in Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, all the way up to Michigan, you're bringing that deer home. I have buddies that are in South Carolina, and they're hanging deer on their kids' playground set. Right? And it's true. It's awesome.
Well, guilty as charged here.
Yeah, the kid's swinging, and the dead deer's right next to the kid swinging. And so for me, I don't think there's really a plus or minus to hanging it one way or the other. For me, I like to allow gravity to get as far away from the meat as possible. So I feel that if you are skinning from the antlers down, if you're hanging it from the head down, what you have is you have a lot more meat that's going to be exposed to anything that's falling off.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the legs that are sitting there. So if you do puncture urine, right, you now have that going all the way down to all the hams. Those back legs are where 80% of your meat's coming off your deer, right? And so, plus it's also the way that the animal works. It's easier to pull the hide off from back to the front and work on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to work on the neck and shoulders when they're hanging down and loose because of the way that the animal is actually working. So if you think of the way the animal runs, if I'm hanging it they're running and their arms are going forward.
Yeah.
Correct. So if I'm hanging it from its head, what we're actually doing is we're actually making the animal do what it's not naturally going to do, which is hang down and be tighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hanging from the head, you're hanging it down. The shoulders are tighter. They're going to be down more. The back legs are going to be tighter along the ball joints. You're going to have the back straps, which are going to be tighter because they're used to being flat. Now what we're doing is we're making where all the weight is pulling down on them. The neck itself, the way that it's set up to be, is not set up to be strung that way.
Yeah.
And so flip it around and hang from the feet. What you're doing is you're actually allowing gravity to loosen all of the muscles versus tighten all the muscles. You're allowing the shoulders to now be loose, so in there you can cut, where the scapula blade sits over on that little bit of fascia. You're allowed to, and even when gutting, right? So now what I can do is when I gut it, I can cut the bunghole. I can make sure that that's free and clear. And then as soon as I start to gut that animal, if it's hanging up, what I actually can do is I can actually take that whole gut sac and lay it down on the front where there's still hide.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can work the diaphragm, because again, I'm working with gravity now, not against gravity. If I'm doing the other way, all those guts are actually going to want to sit down in the pelvic region cavity. And so by flipping that down, you're just allowing everything just to fall out.
Yeah.
And if you go look at all the old cave paintings, they're hanging feet down. If you go look at all the old textbooks from the 1400s of how to butcher a cow, a sheep, a goat, they're hanging from feet down. So why are we going to sit there and, for thousands of years, this is how it's been done, and say, well, we're going to hang it from the head,
No, I definitely got it. And I've even experienced that myself in the past. I've tried it before by hanging by antlers and whatnot, and it was just a pain compared to when you just hang them by the rear legs. So it works a lot better that way. And so, are you the kind of guy that totally skin, and are you trying to section out any meat while you're skinning? Because I feel like that's another mistake that I feel like people do. I mean, I could be totally wrong here. And you call me out on it, but I feel like I've seen people that they try and start sectioning and deboning before they even completely have the animal skinned. Are you completely skinning before you even start doing anything else?
Yeah, I gut, then I skin, because I want to get the guts out as fast as possible.
Right.
There's guys who are like, oh, you got to skin it all. And then that's the guys that tell you, like, but what happens if you hit something? Now you've got no hair to protect.
And way more exposed meat.
Yeah. And so I am 100% skin it all out and then start to process it, because it even allows you to, because again, if you have somewhere to allow to hang that deer to start to dry out a little bit, allow all that fascia we talked about that was slimy to dry, it's going to be a lot easier and a lot better butcher. So skin it out 100%.
Yeah. Are you, you get it skinned. Obviously if it's too warm, you're trying to get it into a walk-in cooler as quick as possible if you can, if you have that capability, or you're quartering and then getting it iced or cooled down as quick as possible. But, once you've got it quartered or skinned, and it's cool enough, do you like to let it hang so you get that drying out effect like you're talking about?
If you have the ability to, heck yeah. Most people don't have the ability to.
Yeah.
And so what I do from that next point is I take off the front shoulders.
Yep.
This is my process. This is how I break down a deer. In my classes, this is how I teach it. And I tell everyone in my classes, there's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's just a way that I found works better for me. And to get the most amount of meat off. So when you're hearing this, and don't come at either of us, don't come at me or Will, be like, oh my gosh, you're wrong. Remember, I've done 400 deer, my own deer. That's not including any other people's deer. It's not including classes. Through the struggle of doing this, and this has only been 6 years of me learning from the wrong way of doing it to finding out a way that gets the best as me, is when people come and do my process, they're like, that was easy. So this is how I do it. You can take it for what it is. You can say F you and go do it the way your grandpa taught you, or the way you saw someone on TV do it. I don't really care, as long as you do it.
Yeah.
And do it to the best of your ability. But for me, this is my process. I'll take off those front shoulders. Again, those front shoulders are held on nothing but sinew. And there's a little piece where the scapula cartilage sits up underneath a little flap of steak that sits right where the shoulder blade meets the backstrap and the neck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get rid of that scapula, it frees itself. The whole leg will come completely off. And then I'll take those and I'll set those aside. Usually what you're doing is that's usually where people's shot placements are. So this is your chance to free up any of your, what I like to call undesirables, uneatables. So your ballistics damage from a round that's in there, that's the big blood clots. That's the big where it kind of exploded. This is your chance to clean it off. Or if you're a bow hunter, this is where you can sit there and analyze your shot and see where you hit it, see where you did stuff, and again, clean out any of that blood wound.
Yeah.
Faster you get that blood out of there and off of there, it's just like when you have a fish and get rid of that bloodline, it's going to taste better. So taking the time just to scrape off that blood and throw it away, don't let it sit. That's with that. Once the shoulders are off, now I have exposure to all of the backstrap. I see a lot of people take the backstrap off first. They're cutting around the shoulder, and they're leaving. It's just take off the shoulders. Now we can work on the back straps. There's a couple ways you can get the back strap off. There's one where you can French out your back straps, which is where you're leaving 8 ribs attached to the back strap. So you do your tomahawks or your French bones or anything like that you would call it along that. Your rib roast, you'll hear it called a lot of times too. This is your prime rib cut. If you're thinking of a kettle, this is your prime rib. Which is where you're leaving on that bone. I mean, I just posted a video of it today.
I was just about to say, I saw you posted doing that, I think, with beef, I can't remember what you were doing with, but basically you're going in and you cut that rib first before you begin to cut the backstrap out, correct?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is between where the diaphragm sits on the last rib and up, all the way up to where your where your tenderloins sit underneath,
right?
About your underneath, up to where your back legs are. There's about a 6-7 inch portion of backstrap. It's the thickest cut of backstrap. This is where you'll get your T-bone steaks or your porterhouses, if you're thinking about that, out of that section, which you can do specialty cuts. They're easy to do. You can get little venison T-bones, little elk T-bones out of that portion. Where the rib starts down, you count down 8 ribs. So start at that very last rib where the diaphragm sits, count down 8 ribs. You're going to go on the inside of the cavity and you're going to cut. I use rose pruners. They work perfect on deer and elk. Or elk, usually you're kind of using like a hacksaw.
Yeah.
They're just thicker bones. But anything that's smaller, from your whitetail to your mule deer to your antelope, those rose pruners work brilliantly. And you're cutting as close to the spine as you can down those 8 bones, and then you're going to cut off however long of the rib bone you want to keep attached. Usually I try to keep 6 to 8 inches. You'll cut that off, and then what you'll do is then you'll go in and you'll cut the back strap down like you normally do along the spine.
Okay.
Then you kind of open it up, and you'll be able to open it up. And again, if you want to look, from fieldtoplate.com, I literally posted one today.
I saw it.
On how to do this, because I had a bunch of people asking me. And you go in and just take your knife and go right along, and then you have your backstrap attached to these bones, so you can do your lollipops. You can cut them and have a little bone in. You can do a whole roast, and the reason we leave the bones on there, one, it helps with more even cooking because the bones are going to deflect the heat. 2, presentation. It's a way to get people who are not game eaters excited to eat something that they recognize.
Yeah,
recognize a tomahawk steak. They recognize a lamb chops. It's the same exact cut as a lamb chop. Bone-in pork chops, same cut. All these, I'm telling you, on this deer, it's the same cut on all those ones that we already know. So it becomes recognizable. And 2, flavor. Anytime you can add that bone marrow when it's cooking, dripping out, it's gonna add flavor. It's gonna add an essence to the animal that's gonna just highlight it. So you can take off that as one strip, or you can take off the whole back strap if you want to, and that's just where you cut along the spine, kind of peel it away, cut along. There's going to be a little pocket in the ribs where it sits. You're just going to kind of carve out where that sits in there. You can take out the whole loin if you want to. Once those are out, then I'll flip over onto the inside. And if I'm not doing T-bone steaks, if you're doing T-bone steaks, you have to leave the tenderloin on the inside in the cavity, because for a lot of people that don't know, the tenderloin is actually your filet mignon. So if you're thinking in the terms of cattle, the tenderloin is your filet mignon.
Yeah.
And so for a T-bone, you have to have your New York and a filet. For your porter, it's just the same exact cut, just there's bigger aspects of when the animal goes smaller and bigger on its lower lumbar vertebrae is where those are found.
Okay.
And so if you're doing T-bones, you leave that in and you kind of just cut off that whole section and you let it chill. And then you can go in with your hacksaw down the middle and then split between each one of those vertebrae. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. And then take off the bone and back strap like we talked about. So now what you're sitting there with your back straps gone, your front shoulders gone. This is where if you want to go and start picking around the rib bones to get off all the meat in the ribs, there is going to be a belly flap that kind of sits there. It's really, really full of a lot of tendons. A lot of guys will throw it away. What I like to do is I take all the scrap that still has meat on it, but it has silver skin, it has sinew, it has tendons, things that you just pick around. I make a pile of it, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay, I was about to ask what you do with some stuff like that.
So I get it. Yeah, so I get a bucket and I throw all that in a bucket, right? On an average deer, I'm only having about 1.5 pounds of waste minus bones, which is nothing if you think about it in the term of what people tell you only get 49%, whatever. And so I'll take all those and I'll throw it into a bucket. Mm-hmm. And now I've got this animal hanging there, pretty much picked down from the lower lumbar vertebrae where the hip bone starts up. It still has all the meat, pretty much clean all the way down to where the neck is now. So the neck, there's 2 ways to do this. A lot of places with CWD, you can't leave any bones from where the spinal cord and head attached. So what I like to do is just debone out that neck roast. In the neck, you're going to see a lot of stuff. All right, there's going to be a lot of white sinew, a lot of white tendons, and it freaks a lot of people out because they're like, oh, I got to go clean that out. Don't worry about it. Just cut off all the neck meat in one big chunk. If it's a bigger deer or an elk, they're going to have what's called we like to call them throat tenders. Yeah. It looks just like you would get a tenderloin in the middle. They're beautiful, beautiful cuts of meat. Pull those off. We've got 2 of those as well. And then, so now you've got the neck. Usually the head's still attached because I'm not the guy that I like the weight pulling down still, right? So I leave that head still in. If I lop off the head, then everything's still flopping all around. I got that weight of those horns or that dough. So then what I'll do is then I'll separate the head. I don't get loppers. I go to where the last cervical vertebrae meets the inside of the skull. So if you look at this deer right here, I don't know if anyone watching, the vertebrae is going to go in there, right on the side. That's where the last vertebrae is going to sit. What I do is I go to the top of the skull, go down, and this is literally just sitting there with just a little bit of there we go. Stay just like that. There's gonna be a little bit of cartilage and stuff that's holding that spine to the head.
Right.
Once cut, the head falls free. Don't get loppers. Don't go in there and cut. You still got to pull that off, right? And now you've got that whole section that's beautiful and cut. Then I go all the way up, and I'll do the same thing. I'll find that vertebrae that attaches to the pelvic bone, and I'll get my knife in there, and I'll bend it up, and I'll cut it, and then I'll just twist it. Pops right off. Now I've got those 2 back legs sitting there beautifully. Mm-hmm. You'll see some guys that will start to break out the muscle groups while it's hanging, which is fine. You can do that. But for me, I like to get more precise, exact cuts. So what I'll do is I'll take one of those legs off hanging, still have one leg hanging up. And again, now I'm allowing gravity to do what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
I'll cut along the back. There's a little what's called an H bone that sits inside where the pelvic bone is. So if you think about the pelvic bone that's going to have, think of it looking like an H. It's going to have come up like this, right? Like a fancy H. It's actually called an H bone. And so you cut around those, and then you can pull the leg down, cut right there, and there's the ball joint sitting. Every time there's a joint in your deer, there's going to be a triangle. Okay, so don't start hacking around. Look at the leg itself, and you'll be able to actually see a triangle. And right where that triangle is, that's where your ball joint's going to be.
Okay.
It's insane. It's so cool once you finally, you're like, oh, yeah, there it is, right? Illuminati. And and so once you see that, then you cut the ball joint and the whole leg will just come off, and you'll have your other one. You take that, and I leave that hanging, and then I grab the pelvic bone, put my hand inside the pelvic bone, and do the same exact thing, just reverse, pull down using that gravity. And now I've got the entire animal quartered out, sectioned out, and it doesn't take very long at all. And now from here, you can put it in your ice chest, right? If you are putting in an ice chest to travel, I recommend not letting the meat touch the ice.
Yeah.
So putting it in trash bags, putting it in
Non-scented trash bags, right?
Oh yeah, you don't want to. You're like, why does it smell like lavender? So what I tell a lot of guys to do is actually to take the ice, put it on the bottom, and then even if they take a piece of cardboard, put a piece of cardboard on top of there, and then lay all the meat on top of the cardboard, or lay all the meat on, or put just a black trash bag, unscented black trash bag,
Yeah.
all the meat over that. It's gonna keep everything ice cold, everything chilled, without it actually touching. Because once your meat hits the water, it's gonna start to turn gray. It's gonna start to suck out all the essence of what that meat actually is.
Mhm.
And meat itself is a sponge. So if you think of a sponge, like just your yellow sponge in your kitchen, right, with a little green bristle top. If you were to squeeze everything out of that sponge and then put it back into dirty water, what happens to that sponge is it now
Soak it up.
soaks all that stuff back up there. So people are like, oh, well, I bleed out my deer. No, you're bleeding out flavor, and you're introducing negative flavor back into your deer.
Yeah.
So make sure it's not touching ice if you're traveling. For me, it's usually then I start to vacuum seal it and then throw it in there, because then I don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be there forever, and not have to worry about any water hitting it. From there, then I take my individual cuts and start working eggs and all that good jazz.
Yeah, that's when you start. That's when you get it back to the kitchen, you debone, and you get it all sectioned out in your different groups of meat and steaks and what you're going to do with it, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking at a back leg, I always tell everyone, I said, God gave you a roadmap, just follow the white lines. So every steak, if you look at a back leg, every section of that back leg is going to have line.
Yeah.
Where that meat is. If you follow that line, that whole entire roast steak will come off.
Oh, big time.
And so if you go in there and start hacking, you can again, it's just another meatball. Hack at it all you want. You'll grind it. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually want that top round, that bottom round, that sirloin tip, that eye of round, all those beautiful cuts that we're used to, if you literally just follow those white lines, every steak is going to come off. This includes the shoulder. Shoulder's got white lines, but if you follow the scapula blade, you take off the shoulder blade steak. You take off the other side, you can take off the top blade steak, right? So all these parts literally just fall into place when you actually look at the muscle group itself.
That's probably my most I get lost in that whenever I start deboning, because I just like pulling out all those different sections of meat. So that's like one of my favorite parts. But what I want to talk about real quick is, what are you doing with that bucket that it's not necessarily waste? You kind of brought this up a minute ago, but tell us about that bucket.
Yeah. So what I do with all of the scraps, right? So the scraps are still full of meat. I learned this from an old timer. Is there's a lot of meat that's left on there.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of like when you would take a chicken carcass and throw it in and boil it and pull off all the extra parts of meat.
Yep.
So what I actually do is I will actually take that and I'll actually slow cook that entire bucket. So I'll put it in a crock pot with a can of beer, some veggies or whatever, just some sort of liquid that goes into that crock pot. And what you're doing is you're allowing all that sinew that's on there, it's going to turn rubbery. And you can actually just pull the meat off of all that and get rid of all that like sticky rubbery, and you'll be left with it. So I had a 5-gallon bucket full of scraps, and this guy didn't believe me. And so I just took a crock pot, threw all that 5 pounds of it, stuffed it into there, right? And let it just slow cook, kept adding liquid, kept breaking it down. We ended up getting another 4.5 pounds of meat just off the scraps that we used for tacos, that we used for tamales, that we used for stews, that we used for, which is a waste what people are going into. But take, you cut off your backstrap, silver skin.
Yeah.
There's the meat still left on it, and usually you just take that, throw it in the bucket.
Ooh.
So there's another buddy of mine that takes all of that and pressure cooks it. So because he doesn't want to wait very long,
Mm-hmm.
put liquid in there, he'll pressure cook it. Same thing. It all just kind of falls apart, and it gets shredded, and it's gorgeous. And the same thing goes with like your neck meat. A lot of guys don't know what to do with their neck, right? For me, I wrap my neck meat and make it like a roast. So you can slow cook it. When you slow cook it, all those little junk that's on the inside breaks down.
Yeah.
And it becomes just fork tender, delicious. For Hispanic culture, their favorite thing to do with the neck meat is make tamales out of it.
God, that sounds so good right now.
Oh, that's literally what I do. I take neck meats and I make neck meat tamales. But what I'll do is I'll take a bunch of different peppers and chilies, and I'll get a big stock pot, throw in a couple neck roasts, throwing all those spices, all the onions and garlics, and you name anything I want to throw in there. And I let that cook down until it's just falling apart, shredding, just like you would pulled pork.
Yeah.
You can utilize that in so many different ways. And then I'll vacuum seal it like that. I'll vacuum seal it in 1 pound little bags. And then it's like, oh, hey, we're having, tacos tonight. I'll pull out that neck meat. I'll take it out. I'll put it in a skillet, add a little liquid, put some seasonings in it. Then we'll have tacos and, deer neck tacos. Or like, hey, Christmas time's coming up and I've got 30 pounds of this neck meat that I have done. Then we'll make tamales out of it and we'll hand it out for Christmas time. We'll make deer neck tamales. And so I think people get so caught up in the basics, right? You got to eat a backstrap like a backstrap. You got to cook it. You got to slice it. It's
You gotta
delicious.
fry it.
Yeah, you got to slice it and pound it and fry it and put it with gravy. And I think the biggest thing from field to plate and who I am is utilizing meat as.
Mm-hmm.
I get so many comments a day like, "Hey, what can I do with this?" I was like, "Well, what's your favorite blank recipe?" "Oh, I love doing this." Okay, then do that with your deer. But I can do that with my deer. Yes. Anything you can do with a cow, you can do with a deer. Anything you can do with a chicken, do with a pheasant or a quail or a duck or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And once you get past the thought of being scared to try it, you're going to be blown away with, some of my top recipes on my page are the most basic, easy, dumbest recipes. That people on FromFieldToPlate.com are like, oh, this is, like one of them got pinned like 10,000 times last month. And it's like, it's just like tacos. But people are excited because it's a different way to do tacos. It's not just the ground meat, but burger recipes, think of wild turkey. It's not just a turkey breast. I can't tell you how many times turkey legs and thighs are way more better than.
Oh, so good. So good.
You add up all these different aspects of it and you really start to look at the animal for who it is, even on a deer, taking off the little cheek meat on it. Like people make fun of me because I skin the whole animal out, even including the head, before I start processing. And they're like, "Why'd you do that?" I'm like, "Well, because look at all the meat that's on here and all the meat that's back here and all the meat that." They're like, "Yeah, but I go, that all adds up. To me, that's 5 more meatballs in a meatball sub."
Yeah.
And that's how I look at the animals. I look at it as food and respect. And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, okay, it's back straps, it's back legs, it's front shoulders. That's it. And so.
See, and what you just said is what I'm really hoping that people will get from this podcast is it's not just your legs, it's not just backstrap and tenderloins. I'm hoping that what they can take just from you breaking down the process of how you go through a deer, it makes you think ahead of time about what everything can get used for and utilized for, rather than just taking those essential pieces of the deer, if you will, and then just discarding everything else.
Yeah, and for me, one of the things that really got me excited about it is I started reading a lot of different books, a lot of old butcher books, a lot of old medical journals.
Mm-hmm.
Like one was like Lewis and Clark's medical journal. And in there, they were talking about how they were all getting sick from scurvy on the trip, right? Because they didn't have any citrus. They didn't have any, it was winter. And they come up to the Indians and they're like, well, why aren't you guys getting sick and dying? Like, we don't know, but we'll tell you what we eat not to look like you. So what they started looking at like internal organs, looking at adrenal glands in an elk. You know that an adrenal gland in an elk has more, which is just a little gland that sits on top of the kidneys,
mm-hmm.
has more vitamin C than like 10 oranges.
What?
And so you can actually get everything you need from an animal. You can get your vitamin C, you can get your zinc, you can get your iron, you can get your vitamin B. You start to look at the animal as a whole and what it does. You can make candles from the fat. Like, an animal is way more than just a head on a wall and a couple steaks for your friends.
Yeah.
But look at the animal itself as this ultimate resource is how my mind has started to look at it. So much so that like I'll even take like sinew from the leg muscles and save it because a buddy of mine, he's building his own bow. And so we're wrapping all these parts of his arrows with this fresh sinew that we dried on a deer.
Dang.
Right? That's what the Indians did. And so it's like, no, I'm not telling everyone to go sit there because everyone's like, that's just insane, Jeremiah. But there's a lady that came to one of my classes and she was on the verge of becoming a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
saw one of my classes in Outdoor Life magazine. So she came to this class and she was asking me what you can do with all the different fats on a deer. And I was like, well, deer fat really isn't good to eat because it's very, very waxy. Right?
Yeah.
It's very tallowy, waxy type feel. I go, but Native Americans used to use it to waterproof their boots, waterproof their teepees. And I start, so I grab a whole hunk off one of the back legs and I start rubbing it on my boot. I pour water on it and water kind of beads off. She's like, that's insane. I said, they used to also render it down and make candles out of it. Well, that got her little hippie butt all excited, right? And so she literally cut every ounce of fat off everybody's deer that was hanging up. Well, she made all of us peppermint scented candles for Christmas with just deer fat. And it's one of the coolest things to have this candle that smells like peppermint when you're burning it, and it's made 100% from deer fat. And it, and it renders down. It's got kind of that deer essence with a little bit. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And it's crazy to think about all the different fun things you can do. I mean, even with the insides of the animal, like people make fun of me all the time when I bust out the kidneys and the heart and the liver. And, I save the esophagus for my dogs. I'll take a bunch of esophagus. I'll throw them on the smoker until they're dry. My dogs freaking go nuts over them. Do you know how much a little 2-inch piece of beef esophagus is at like a high-end pet store for your dog?
Nuh-uh.
$30 for 2 inches. And
now,
sit here.
What's the benefit behind that for your dog? Is it like a rawhide or what?
Yeah, it's just like it's a rawhide chew toy for your dog. And the benefits are all the things that go into that animal. So not only are they getting like their vitamins and minerals from what the animal ate out of this, right? But it's a chew toy. It's something you're not throwing in the gut pile. And it doesn't take any work. I don't clean it. I don't do anything. I literally take the entire trachea and esophagus out of the deer. So it's that long, right? It's a foot long. And I throw them. We shot 18 deer a couple weeks ago, and I took all 18, and I literally just threw them on the smoker until they were dry. They dry and they kind of harden. And I got a couple in my freezer right now that I need to smoke this next trip. And then when my dog does something good, we come back from a duck hunt or something, I give him one of those. It's like an energy boost for him. Just like us eating, like taking a protein shake. And he loves it because it's just a chew toy, right? It's a rawhide. It's a bully stick. It's whatever you want to call it. And it's not a bone. It's not going to make a big mess. He eats all of it. And so you can look at all these different things of an animal that we just waste, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, even so much so that we were with a group of Hispanic people down in Mexico, and we shot a brocket deer, which is like a little itty bitty deer. And they took the stomach, they cleaned the stomach, and they made us, tripe soup out of it,
Yeah, menudo.
Yeah, and we're eating this, and we're going, why are we eating deer stomach? Why aren't we all eating deer stomach? Right? Because it's gross. It takes a lot of time to clean. We were antelope hunting, and I was like, I really want to make sage breakfast sausage, but I don't want to buy casing, so I'm going to teach myself how to take the large intestine of this antelope, clean it so that, because if you think about if you're stuffing sausages, you're using natural hog casings, right?
Yeah.
So I took the guts, squeezed all the crap out of this thing, rinsed it, cleaned it, salted it. We made breakfast sausage, and it was some of the best breakfast sausage. Now, again, I'm not telling everyone to do it because it was a pain in the butt and it was a disgusting process, but it's doable and it's there and it's gorgeous and it's, like, I don't know if you know that show Alone, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every time I watch that, it pisses me off with what I watch them like when they get a fish and they're like, oh, okay, or they get a deer and they like throw the stuff. I'm like, you know how much you guys just wait, like just by putting those bones into a broth and drinking it, you're going to get way more nutrients and minerals and fat and calories than you are by eating that steak. That's going to, but again, that's just me being the guy who reads every book because I want to treat that animal with as much respect because I mean, these heads are awesome, but at the end of the day, it's just a head on the wall.
Yeah, that's all they're going to do. I got some here myself.
Yeah.
So tell me about this class that you do. Do you do multiple classes throughout the year, or tell us about that because I'm actually interested in this myself.
Yeah, you'll have to come to it. Yeah, so every year I try to do 2 deer classes where it's does only because I don't want people arguing and fighting over who shot a bigger buck.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about the meat, not about the head, right?
Yeah.
And a doe is a doe. I've never had someone go, "Oh my gosh, your doe weighs 2 pounds more than mine." No, a doe is a doe.
Meat.
And so what it is, it's a 4-day class. You show up, and even if you've never touched a gun before in your life, don't worry about it. This class is meant for you. I in the same classes, I've had a lady who had never touched a firearm, and a guy that went and hunted in Africa, and they're in the same exact class, learning the same process. And then what I've been talking about today is what we teach you. So we all go out, we all shoot it. There's a whole gutting, skinning class, and everything's hands-on. Like, you do your animal. I'm there to help you and encourage you, but you do your animal. And then we go through the whole breakdown process, all the specialty cuts, and then you learn how to process, you learn how to cook, it's a 4-day all-inclusive, like, you come to be better at being self-sufficient on your deer. So I do 2 of those classes a year. This year, I just signed for next season with a duck duck outfitter.
Sweet.
We're gonna do a waterfowl class, so that's coming. Come and learn how to put out a spread, how to use a duck call, how to command a dog. Then we're gonna duck hunt, and you're gonna come back. You're gonna learn how to pluck, how to skin, how to gut, how to quarter out, and how to cook your waterfowl.
Sweet.
Make you a pet. So you're not just breasting out. Also talk to a turkey outfitter for next season.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do a turkey class. So again, come learn how to set up a spread, learn how to call, learn how to sign, scraping, and all this stuff. Then we're gonna turkey hunt. Same deal. You're gonna learn how to process that turkey down for class. And then I've got a guy. I've done it with Access. I've done it with Audab. We've done it with a bunch of other things. But the goal is for this next year is to have more opportunities for people to get excited about doing it. And like I said, in 6 years, I've taken out 400 adults. That's not including kids. That's 400 adults that have come through just deer classes alone to learn how to do it. And it's amazing when I get text messages daily from them saying, "Hey, look what I did. Look what I did on my own. Hey, because of this," or I'll get a FaceTime. "Hey, I forgot how to do this cut. Can you walk me through this?" And it's so awesome and empowering. I was walking around SHOT Show, and this one guy stopped me with this one company. He goes, "You're Jeremiah with From Field to Plate, right?" And I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "So I've been following you for a long time. Really kind of excited about you. So I got my daughter and a bunch of her friends and their moms, and we did a From Field to Plate style class at our ranch." He started showing me all these pictures. Like, to me, that is what this is all about. Because
that's freaking sweet.
Because 10 years ago, I was the guy who was sitting in the field pissed off that I didn't know what I was doing. Fast forward is now people are teaching classes the way that I taught classes. And it's funny to see on social media how many people are coming out like, "Oh, we have a new hunt class coming up." It's like, welcome. I started that. Enjoy it. And they're trying to throw it on their own. But again, it's not. I've had people go through, they're like, it's not the same because, again, theirs isn't as hands-on. It's like, "Hey, watch me shoot this pig. Watch me show you how to butcher it." And I'm more of the mentality of getting dirty for your dinner.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting dirty for your dinner, then why are you even eating dinner?
Absolutely. Well, man, I know we're running out of time here, but where can everybody find all of this on your website? Give us your social media handles. Where can we find you?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. From Field to Plate, TO Plate, on everything. And I've got a really cool group, public group, or it's a private group now because we had a bunch of idiots come in and try to delete it. But on Facebook that you can join, and it's all based on food. So you can go there and show it. If you show hunting pictures, it's got to include food.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 1,500 people, or 15,000 people on there now.
Wow.
That you can get on there, and it's food daily, and it's encouraging to see other people's food. Excited about it. From Field to Plate on Instagram, you can go there. I post tons of reels and videos and lives on how to do processing that I'm talking about.
Sweet.
From Field to Plate on YouTube. YouTube channel's kind of there, but not too much on it, just because the demonetizing on everything.
Yeah.
I'm working on putting everything onto my website, which is fromfieldtoplate.com. You can go there. I have hundreds of free recipes. I don't charge for anything because I make companies charge so that you can get everything for free. I think that's the way it needs to be. Just like everyone's like subscription based, like, "Oh, follow me on Instagram, pay $4.99 a month. You can get cool content." Nope. You get cool content with me just by hanging out and talking. I also run all my stuff. So and I have 100% answer rate on all direct messages. So if you have a question, comment, concern, reach out. I'm going to answer it.
Heck yeah, brother.
If I don't know the answer, I know a lot of people in the industry that do know the answer. And so I will find it out for you. And then sign up for a class. The next ones, hopefully, I'm going to post it here in May. The dates, they usually sell out within a day to 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes place in West Texas. The prices are all inclusive, and it's pretty reasonable. I think it's like $1,300 for 4 days worth of hunting.
That's not bad.
I try to keep it as low as I can, just pay the ranch, food and stuff like that, and then pay me to be out there hanging out. But I don't want to be these guys that are charging you $6,000-$7,000 because I want you to be able to afford to be able to go out and do it. And you go home with meat and processed meat, vacuum sealed meat, ready to go home. So cut out the middleman is kind of the whole process behind it. So
man.
Come hang out, come talk. And then I also have a podcast also, From Field to Plate, the podcast. You can just tell Alexa it's on all streaming services. And
Well, heck yeah, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate your time this morning, hopping on the podcast with me, talking deer, breaking down deer, other animals, and I learned a lot today. So, man, just thanks again for your time.
Yes, sir. Anytime.